Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about what causes anxiety or states that feel anxious. So there can be external factors and internal factors, more psychological things and also physiological things. So I'm going to go through some of these. So let's go through some of the examples that are more external and perhaps psychological. So we're looking at day-to-day stresses, people that we interact with, things that we have to do. So it might be being stuck in traffic and perhaps we start to feel stressed about that because we're going to be late for work. So this is an external experience and it's something external to us in our environment, but it's also an internal thing because it's our beliefs and our perceptions about the experience that we're having. So one person might be stuck in traffic and feel absolutely fine, totally calm, they're not bothered if they're late for work, and another person is literally like shaking and bright red and about to kind of have a nervous breakdown. The difference there would be the belief systems that person has in their subconscious and the faulty thinking processes that might be because of those belief systems. So perhaps a belief system that you have to always be on time, or that you should never let anybody down, or you should never get anything wrong, you should always do things perfect. So there might be some sort of perfectionist traits or people-pleasing tendencies that someone might have, and this creates the tendency to have more of an anxious reaction towards different external factors. Another thing might be like an argument with your friend, someone in your family, arguments with your partner. Relationships can cause a lot of anxiety for people. And again, this is an external thing, so it's, you know, outside of your control in some ways. You might feel scared that you and your partner are going to separate. Perhaps they've said something that upset you, or yeah, just some sort of fears or worry, concerns that is playing over in your mind and creating this anxious state. So even though it's an external factor, but we do have this kind of internal belief system, and then these thoughts that are connected to that belief system that come from within, and we project that out onto that external experience and create our narrative around it. If it's something very worrying, it still has an impact on our body internally on a physiological level. So it might start off with some sort of psychological reaction. Although it's so interlinked, it's kind of hard to say which one starts first. Some people would argue that story always follows state because it's the nervous system that is reacting to the external stimulation, and the senses are the first thing that come into contact: the eyes, the ears, touch. So it's this nervous system that is our it's the system in the body that tells us whether we are safe or not, and our beliefs, our perceptions very much are interlinked with that as to whether the nervous system is going to react to that external situation as something that we need to fear and fix, or something that's just like okay. So we can start to work on our belief systems in the subconscious and start to find a little bit more balance within those belief systems. We can work on where those belief systems came from. So when did our nervous system first learn that connections, loving, intimate connections with people were potentially painful? You know, it starts very early in our attachment styles. If you've never heard of the attachment theory, that is something very interesting to look at if you suffer from anxiety, because a lot of our fears around the relationships that we have and whether they are safe, whether we're going to lose something that means a lot to us, can cause a lot of anxiety, and we can work through that on a somatic nervous system level, on a thought, psychological, cognitive level, and really start to change that and reduce our moments of anxious states. So those are some of those external things. So we've got life in general, work, relationships, social interactions, being in big crowds, seeing a dog if you're scared of dogs, having deadlines to reach. Okay, so like I've explained, it's an external thing in your environment, but it's very much interlinked with the psychology, cognitions, and also the beliefs, the perceptions, and this is all tied into the nervous system. And a lot of this started very young and kind of formed our nervous system reactions and patterns. Then we have our more physical stresses that can cause anxiety. So anything that causes stress can lead to anxiety. So for example, if we have a diet that is full of inflammatory foods, we're putting our body under stress. So this could lead to messages within the body physiologically saying there's something wrong, you know, we've got so many toxins in the body, we've got to digest all of this food. That can kind of set you off into a stressed, anxious state. And the end result is the feelings, it's the sensations, the heart rate, it's difficult to breathe, you know, tingling in the hands if you've ever had a panic attack. So it can be caused from something that we need to try and work on, you know, externally or psychologically, but also, you know, the things that we do, the habitual things that we do with our food and, you know, daily habits. Also, if we're not eating enough, or if we're not digesting well. So we might be eating enough and we might be eating lots of really great whole foods, but if our digestion is compromised, we're not getting the resources that we need. So we might actually be deficient in nutrients, vitamins, all of the macros, protein and fats and all of these different things, and we might have an electrolyte deficiency, which means that the signals we're supposed to get through the body for everything to work properly are just not firing. And again, this sends lots of messages out to the body and to the brain saying something is wrong, we are low on resources, like what can we do? And the body goes into overdrive and can feel like anxiety. Also, if we are eating a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of like high GI carbohydrates, refined sugars, and the body might be having big spikes of blood glucose, glucose in the blood, and then big spikes of insulin to try and bring that down. So we might be having lots of highs and lows, and then that big hit of insulin can kind of bring the blood sugar to low then. So we kind of have these bursts of energies and then we're very low. So this can result in real imbalances in our mental state, feeling wired and then super tired, no energy, anxious. It's like the body doesn't know what's going on. There's not this nice steady supply of glucose and nutrients and minerals in the body. It's all sort of up and down. So whenever the body feels like it's going low in resources, which could be sodium, glucose, all of the important minerals that it needs, potassium, magnesium, it can send signals, stress signals, and then the body goes into this kind of sympathetic and sending out lots of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and this ends up feeling like anxiety. So you can see that there's lots of different factors that could be contributing to our anxiety. And also if there's a problem actually metabolizing carbohydrates. So we might be eating a decent amount, or we might not even be, maybe we're not eating enough, so the body's not getting the glucose that it needs. So it could be that you're eating it, but perhaps there's some sort of insulin resistance, so you're not actually able to pull those glucose into the body to use as fuel, or maybe there's not enough carbs, you're just like have been on a calorie deficit or very low carb diet for a long time, and maybe the body's just not getting the glucose that it needs. This could also lead to stress. It's like the body knows that it is out of balance and it needs some help. So yeah, like I said, you can see that there are lots of different factors that can contribute to anxiety, and maybe there's a few different ones all happening at once for you. So if any of this resonates, maybe write a little note down of the different things that you think that, you know, that could relate to you. If you want any more information about any of those ones in particular, just drop me a little message and I would love to share more.